and the reply once received shall be provided to the honorable member. Honorable members, you may have noticed that the amendment to Standing Order 43A gives priority to questions and reports by Cabinet Secretaries every Wednesday afternoon for a period not exceeding 3 hours. In this regard, and in order to allow adequate time for members to dispense with questions and to compensate for the time set aside for questions during the sitting, the amended Standing Order 32 has varied the hours of sitting on Wednesday afternoon from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Honorable members, you may take your seats. The nearest available seat. The nearest available seat. Honorable members, for clarity notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 32C, the House may adjourn at 7 p.m. on Wednesdays during the afternoon sitting in the event the House concludes the business scheduled for the sitting, in addition to any questions scheduled for reply. Pursuant to the amendment of Standing Order 25AB, I have designated the place adjacent to the public servants' bench on the right of Mr. Speaker as the appropriate place in the chamber where a Cabinet Secretary shall expound on government policy, reply to questions, and provide reports concerning matters under his or her control. This is the usual place where the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury presents budget highlights annually. Honorable members, after a Cabinet Secretary has responded to a question, the standing orders allow the Speaker the latitude to A, permit the member who raised a question to ask a maximum of 2 supplementary questions that relate to the original question, B, to permit a member other than the member who asked a question to ask a further supplementary question that relates to the original question, C, to direct a Cabinet Secretary to provide additional information or a further reply to a question or supplementary questions to the relevant committee of the House, D, to defer a question to a different time or day from its scheduled time and day. Honorable members, here I will encourage members of my panel to be flexible. If a question is of such a national interest, not to limit to 1 or 2 supplementaries, but to allow a few members who have similar issues to ventilate on the question. Honorable members, it has also been brought to my attention that the amendments considered and passed by the House on Thursday, 9th March 2023, in relation to the processing of questions contain some minor errors. In this regard, I do invoke the provisions of Standing Order 152.3 and direct the clerk to correct the errors. The clerk is further directed to publish and circulate to the members an addendum to the standing orders as a reference guide in the consideration and processing of questions by the House. Honorable members, it is my hope that this new procedure will enhance executive accountability to the National Assembly. I urge members to take time to familiarize themselves with the new procedure well in advance for the resumption of the House after the short recess. The House is guided accordingly. Further to that, honorable members, it should be made very clear from the onset that only Cabinet Secretaries are allowed under the amended standing orders to come and answer questions on the floor of the House. So Majority Leader, you may take the opportunity to communicate to the Cabinet Secretaries that there will be no room for delegation of anybody to come to this House to answer questions on behalf of the Cabinet Secretary. Each Cabinet Secretary is obligated under the Constitution to come to the House in person and answer questions or expound on policy in their docket in response to questions raised by members. Honorable members, on the communication on the Women's League, if there are any members, particularly our women, who want to make a comment, I'll give 15 minutes. I want to encourage you to laud the East African Women League. What I wonder is from 1917, why should we be having only 1,000 members? Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Allow me, on my own behalf and the people of Kikuyu, to welcome the Women's League to the National Assembly and laud them for the great work they have done to fight for women's rights, voting rights in this country. And also those who preceded them. As you have indicated, these are descendants of the actual members, the first founding members of the Women's League. But, Honorable Speaker, besides the short number of about 1,000 members, probably we should also note that women now are not just people who have voting rights in this country, but they constitute the most important voting bloc in our republic. And therefore, we want to encourage not just the Women's League, but the women of Kenya, that even as we embark on the process of realizing the 2/3 gender rule